Welcome to another episode of Unwritten, everyone. Thank you for listening to those who come and listen every week. And if you're new here, please subscribe, share, and review if you feel like it. In today's episode, I speak with Corby Mitleid. Corby Mitleid. She's a beautiful spiritual and tarot master, and she has so many insights as a 69-year-old who's battled cancer, divorce, and much more. In our episode, Corby Mitleid talks about how she's an elder, not a boomer. She talks about her tarot readings and how they work. She talks about how burnout exists and common questions as a spiritual reader and leader and master. She explains how tarot works, discusses living in the modern world, astrology, and the future of America. She touches a little bit on religion, the efforts and waste of time of trying to change people, and how to say no as a woman, and maybe as a man in general. Corby also discusses self-help, overcoming adversities in life, and igniting change in life that matters. She emphasizes the importance of having the mantra, praise or blame can affect you the same, and discusses societal cultures, gender pronouns, and political extremes. See you in the episode. Enjoy. Welcome to the Unwritten Podcast with your host, Thomas Malpass, where we are on a mission to help the world find more purpose, passion, and peace in their everyday lives. Through deep conversations and connection, tune in because we are all on this journey of life together. Okay, well, thank you for coming on. I'm grateful. I haven't had somebody like yourself come on yet, so it's always nice to have somebody with a different perspective and story to tell. But I start every podcast in a similar fashion. I ask a question, and the question is, can you please share some experiences growing up that shaped your journey of discovering who you are today?
Oh, that's easy. That's what I call my 30-second elevator speech, because everybody asks that. When I was 9, I read a book called, are we recording?
Yeah.
Okay. When I was 9, I read a book called The Witch Family by Eleanor Estes. And instead of thinking, ooh, that's scary, or ha, 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 I thought, and your point is, I knew there was magic in the world and I wanted to go find it. Fast forward to 1973 when I was a senior in high school, and yes, that tells you how old I am. That was the year Live and Let Die came out, with Jane Seymour as Solitaire, the tarot reader. And Spencer Gibbs had the James Bond 007 tarot deck, and I bought it because we were all hippies then. You had your elephant bell bottoms, and you had your David Crosby fringed jacket, and your deck. 5 years later, everybody else had moved on to roller skates and disco balls, but I was still reading with the cards. I found them fascinating, and I loved the stories they told. So, for 20 years, I read for friends. All of a sudden, in the early 90s, I could do hands-on healing and talk to dead people with no training. That's when the universe handed me my draft notice and said, hello, you're working for us. So I did it part-time, meanwhile, with a very checkered career: actress, author, inspirational speaker, video producer, legal assistant, writer for the graphic novel series ElfQuest, executive recruiter, but always doing the work on the side. Till 9/11. As we watched the towers burn, I turned to my husband and I said, I need to do the psychic work full time. People need to know there are other answers out there. He said, I believe in you. Go do it. Since then, it's 6 days a week, 14 hours a day. I read about 1,000 people a year, and I get to get up in the morning. I don't have to get up in the morning. That's a huge difference.
That's wow. in a nutshell.
Hmm.
So you said you read a book about witch.
It was a little children's book called The Witch Family,
Okay.
and it was about two little normal girls who found a witch family, which was a grandma witch and a kid witch and a baby witch, and the uh, interplay between them. But it was fascinating to me.
Yeah.
Um, I grew up in a completely medical family.
Yeah.
Brother was a doctor, dad was a doctor, mom was a nurse. I was an actress, I was a writer, I was a rebel. I could have stood on the table and tap danced and recited Shakespeare and they wouldn't have seen me. So I've always had to find my own path.
And something about that book, did it speak to you or?
I wanted what was in it. I wanted magic. I wanted, to be able to fly. I wanted to be able to cast spells. Back in the late
Yeah.
60s and early 70s, remember, Wicca, witchcraft, whatever, was just peeking over the rocks
Mm.
and coming out into reality.
Yeah.
It's not like today spirituality, Wicca, whatever, is ubiquitous. You can find it everywhere, including in a Hallmark card. Back then,
Yeah.
so it
Back
was
then it was more
mysterious.
like superstition.
No, no, what I'm saying is
No.
in the 60s and early 70s, it was this little glimmer of gold that had been buried for a long time because in the 60s, it was peace, love, magic, all the things that were not straight laced 1950s.
Yeah.
So, and I was part of that.
So when did you first start, I guess, practicing it? And how did you know that this is what you wanted to do, like full
As I
time?
said, 1973, I started reading tarot and I
Mm.
found that I was able to interpolate the stories that they told. When you agree that the universe is handing you your draft notice saying you're working for us, and you take that, it starts rifling inside you to see what you're good at. Me,
Mm.
theater major at Brown University, acted in New York, so I understand characters, story arcs. Words are my drug of choice. I'm a writer, I've got 3 books published, so I know how to tell the stories.
Mm.
And I have loved history since I was a wee thing in single digits. Put all of that together, and my top skills are reading tarot and oracle cards and doing past lives. Are there other things I can do? Yes, I can talk to spirit guides and angels and dead people. But what I love are the cards and the past lives.
So
When
what would you
I'm
tell
working with new
somebody?
people, when I'm working
Yeah.
with new people, I tell them, don't think you have to do everything. For instance, with
Mm.
me, I cannot draw a stick figure with a sharp pencil and a lot of prayer, so do not ask me to do spirit art. It's not going to happen.
What would you tell somebody that doesn't believe in any of this?
That's fine. Have a nice life. It is not a matter, it's not like a religion where I must tell you if you don't believe in the spaghetti monster, you are going to be damned.
Mm.
This is how I view the world. And what you believe, as long as you don't attack me, kill me for what I believe,
Yeah.
go have a life. None of us are really going to know what's going on until we're dead, and then we're not allowed to really come back and tell you.
Right. It's another dimension, another world.
Mm-hmm.
And what would you tell somebody if somebody's curious about it?
Wonderful. Welcome to the clubhouse. Um, I refer to myself as an elder, not a boomer. That's a whole nother kettle of fish. But the idea is we who are
Yeah.
elders know that it's time for us to come off the main stage.
Mm.
Millennials, Gen Z, you have it really tough. I, to
What?
boomers who keep
You want
saying,
to shake
you
them?
know, I do, because when we were your age, we did not worry about somebody coming in with a gun and killing us in school. We did not
Mm.
worry that the world was going to be uninhabitable in our lifetimes. We didn't worry about getting hurt, raped, killed because we decided to take a vaccine, we believed in science, we voted a certain way, we loved a certain way. You have it much harder than we do. So our job as elders is to step off the stage, let you learn who you are in the spotlight. If you ask us for information, give it to you, but we don't push it on you. And learn to be what I call a third trencher. Now, what's a third trencher? In World War I, in trench warfare, first trench is when you went over the top. Boom. Second trench was getting ready to go over the top. But third trench was food, supplies, medics. A boomer as a third trencher means if there is an event where we're feeding the homeless, we pack the lunch bags, we do the dishes. But the millennials, the Gen Zs, they get to be in the spotlight, plan it, talk to the media. It's their game. We now help. And that is the only way that the generations are going to support each other for moving forward. And that too, if you will, is part of the magic. We're all human souls. Are we going to work together or fight each other? It's our choice.
Yeah, I agree. I like how you call yourself elder and not boomer.
I'm 69, baby. That's old. It just is.
Well, you still have a lot of energy, and you know, a lot of people that age, you know.
Well, a couple of things. Number one, no kids, so you know I have not had sleepless nights. And when you love what you do, it gives you the
energy. Yep.
Yeah,
That's exactly why I do this. Yeah.
Yep. I kid
That's why I
about the
don't
fact
believe.
that
Yeah.
you don't believe what?
In burnout, in true burnout. Because I believe people who are burnt out just aren't fulfilled in the jobs and work they're doing. Because if you're truly fulfilled and passionate about something, that passion and the work you're putting in towards that passion, it gives you energy. It doesn't take away.
Except when it depends on what you're doing. 14 hours a day, 6 days a week. I am working with people who say my life is miserable. I'm scared. Tell me what to do. And you know, they're desperate.
That energy.
Give me. And so unless I give myself at least a 1 day off a week, I do become a crispy critter, much as I love it. I do say that I'm going to be doing this stuff until I'm 2 weeks dead. Then I'll just change my office, flip the sign to spirit guide, and keep doing what I'm doing. But you must, if you're going to be someone who is in this for the long haul, no matter what it is you love to do, you have to have your boundaries. You have to understand that no is a fabulous idea, that you have a right to as much love and care and support as you give to others. And make sure that you get it, even if you have to just give it to yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I agree too, because we all need rest, you know. Even if you're super passionate about something, you can't, you're not like, like you're not a engine that could just keep going. You have to take a break sometimes, and that's okay. It's okay to take a break. It's okay to stop pushing on the gas and take a pause for a second and give yourself rest, because we all deserve rest.
Sometimes that rest will also just alter your perspective enough that new answers are going to come in, if you will, another arrow in your quiver, more in your toolbox.
Yeah, opposed to if you're just constantly in the grind without giving yourself enough rest. What's the most common question you get that people come to you?
Seriously?
Yeah.
Does Bruce love me? Is he gonna love me? Well, if I do this, is he gonna like? Look, I've done stand-up comedy about you think his life is easy. I really have. But people mostly come to me for what I call the everyday tour bus. House, car, job, kids, finances. Okay, God, you put me here. What the hell am I doing? They will come to me for, you know, past lives. Why am I afraid of oatmeal? Why do I have this thing about 1642 Belgium? They'll want to speak to their spirit guide, Binky, or how's dead Aunt Mabel. I mean, I take my work seriously, but me not so much. But those are the things
Mm-hmm.
people come to me for. And I'm practical. I
Mm-hmm.
don't, I something that I call glurpy purple with angels, which is the um, pink and purple and unicorny kind of, you find the psychics or, hi, my name is Little Dancing Raccoon, and here's my spirit guide, Arctic Bear. Let's see what your angels are saying today, shall we? No. I'm from New York, baby. It does not work that way.
Yeah.
But when somebody sits down with me and I say, what is the most important thing you want to get out of your knowing today?
Mm.
Because they're only with me for a certain amount of time. If they go blank on me, I go Brooklyn on them and I go, look, what's biting your butt? You say that, everybody drops into it's this. And I encourage people not to waste time with yeses or nos. If you said, is my new business going to be successful? What if I said no? Where do you go? Besides,
Mm.
unscrupulous psychics, and there are the gypsy readers, things like that. If you said, "Is my new business going to be successful?" they would probably say, "Oh no, I'm sorry, you have family curse. How many in your family? Four? This $600 candle fits everything," and people buy it. Swear to God, they buy it. So
That's what you
I
see in the
teach.
movies.
Yes, that is frankly why I wrote my book, The Psychic Yellow Brick Road. It is not
Mm.
about how to be a psychic, but how to find one, choose one, use the energy, use the answers. So in that case, I tell people instead ask how. How do I make my business successful? And then, as certified tarot master, I've got spreads for everything. I've got an entrepreneur spread. So that would be a card for you, a card for the energy around the business, a card for the brick and mortar location you want to look for, how to market it, clients, competition, staff, finances, what you need to know, and best possible outcome. See, that's not fortune telling. That's not predictive. That is, here are all the energies that I see in play so that you can work with the ones that are really fabulous or find a way to mitigate or get rid of the problems.
And how
When
do these
someone,
energies show up?
what do you mean, how do they show up? How do I get them? Down. Um,
Yeah, how does it like exactly work? Like you have the cards and
Here are the
then
cards. And tarot, especially,
mm-hmm.
it's been around for hundreds of years. They have certain rules. Oracle cards are a whole different thing. But one of the things that I tell rookies, especially if they've never had tarot done before, is I say, look, there are three cards in the deck that weird out rookies: Death, the Devil, and the Tower. If they come up, I'll tell you what they mean, because it ain't that. Um, and that's important because if you are not aware that the cards are allegory, you're going to see these things and you're going to absolutely panic.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going through my deck now because I'm going to show you each of these three cards and explain why it's not what you think. For instance, here's the Devil card. This is not Mr. Horns in a Tail. It's not even Jack Nicholson in The Witches of Eastwick. It is
Yeah.
being bedeviled by something, someone, or some situation, or holding yourself back from your highest and best. Next, death. No, this does not mean you're going to be hit by a bus on Tuesday. It is transformation. Death of an old way of life. What you've
Mm.
outgrown was never you in the first place. And the Tower card. The Tower card looks like it's doom, gloom, and destruction. But when it comes up, I tell people, think of it like the imploding sports stadium. Boston Red Sox want to build a new stadium, they got to blow up Fenway first and clear the ground. When people understand its allegory, they
Mm-hmm.
understand it is information. And I also remind people, even the best of us, and I've been reading for 50 years, are only 85% accurate because we're human. The only 100% accurate is God, and he's not doing Zoom readings this week. So get a clue.
Can you do a test reading on me?
Um, I be very honest, I resent the idea it's a test reading because that makes me sound like a trick pony. If
Oh,
you have a
can you
question
do
you'd
a
like me to,
legit one on me?
All of my readings are legit. Do you have a question?
Um,
What's biting
I'm
your butt, son?
I'm curious about the work I'm doing.
Okay, we talking about this?
Yeah.
Or okay, so
I
it's
mean,
not
I
another
know.
job. You're not a bricklayer. You don't work at Walmart, stuff like that.
No, this is my full-time thing, but I also do. I might be getting a moving job just to pay the bills, but
Hey, as someone who is an actress and had to work 60 hours a
yeah,
week in New York for a law firm, yeah, I get it. All
yeah,
right, so what we're looking at is your motivational business, yes?
yeah. Cause I have a passion for this. I could see myself doing this for a very, very long time. I love connecting with new people, meeting new people.
Okay. For
Um,
you, I'm actually going to use a couple of different decks. The first one I'm going to use is Zen Osho. It's a very philosophical deck. And there are always three qualities that you're going to need to bring into this. Number one is creativity. Don't make yourself sound like every other podcast because people
mm,
will just go on by. Second, notice I'm not even looking at what I'm pulling. Experiencing. What that tells me is your key, what will get people to listen to you most, is for you to pull and extrapolate from the life you've had. Then, if you want to bring in guests that can shed some light, give a different facet, that's great. Too
mm,
many podcasters just find somebody and they don't know anything about the subject. So they the guest says something and then the podcaster says, awesome, and reads the next question. They don't get involved. See that?
yeah,
When you work with your experience, then you can come up with different questions. You can really interact with the guest, and that's what sparks people's
yeah,
interest. Third card for you is courage. There are going to be some things that you want to talk about that may not be popular, that may be people come down one side or the other. That's okay. Do it because that's what will make your show stand out. Now, let's take a look and see where you are otherwise. Why are you laughing?
yeah.
Do they make
Cause
sense to
it's
you?
no, I'm laughing because it's very interesting and cool, and it's a good perspective to. This is why I
Okay,
love this type of stuff. I love getting new perspectives. I'm very open-minded.
exactly.
Um, I do have my um, opinions on things, but for the
Okay,
most part, I'm open-minded.
good. Now let's take a look at what the tarot has to say. Card for you, Prince of Pentacles. You're solid, you're practical, you understand what you're doing. It's not about your ego. Very good. Energy around the business. The Ten of Swords card says there's no more blood to bleed. That tells me that you are going to have to make some real shifts this year in how you do it. Um, whether it is there is something that you've done to death or the methodology or structure that you have, there's just no more juice to it. So get ready this year to make things different. Third, there is a possibility for sponsors and for ways to make money at this, and it's time for you to look at it.
Wait, what was that one? You
Ten
didn't
of
say what it
Pentacles.
was.
Ten of
Oh, the same
Pentacles, the
one?
Wall Street card. This is for how you structure. Remember, I said the brick and mortar location? In
Yeah.
order to give you the brick and mortar location or the bandwidth you want, start getting sponsors. How to market it? I love this. This is the smart attitude card for me. Y'all know what
Yeah.
smart attitude is? Why don't you
No.
introduce it? I'll sell tickets. So what that says is how you market this is a little bit of irreverence and a little bit of poking at what everybody thinks. Who are the people who are going to listen to you? People who want balance, people who are really tired of being fed what they're fed by corporate and want to know what's on the other side. Competition, the really, really, wiki woo. This is Vision Quest. Those are the people that have such a narrow view of what they want. They will only invite on guests that fit in their little box. Finances for you. Strength card says, don't be afraid to roar. Don't let anybody hold your mouth shut. Notice, woman's holding the lion's mouth shut. See that? What you need to know that you're not
Yeah.
thinking about right now. Slow growth, but deep roots. This says that
Mm.
it may take you 7 months or so to start moving yourself from one direction to another. But it's the difference between trying to climb Everest in sneakers where there's no grip, but you run up, and with the cleats on your boots. It's slower,
Mm.
but you don't back out. Final card. You could really make your mark. This is the Emperor card. This is the one who rules. So you have an enormous amount of potential with this, but it is going to take a little bit of switching this year. Now, along with this, normally I do your numerology. Our lives go in 9-year cycles. And the way I
Yeah.
get yours is I take your month and day of birth and add this year's master number. So when's your birthday? Just the month and day. I don't need the year.
September 20.
All right, so check my math. 9 plus 20 is 29, plus this year's master number of 8, 37. 3 plus 7 is 10. 1 plus 0 is 1. You get it down to the single number. So this is a 1 year for you. It's the start of a new cycle. That's great. Whatever you want for the next 9 years, plant a seed this year. For instance, if someone wanted to build an off the grid house, they'd get a set of plans. Whatever it
Mm.
is, something concrete to tell the universe, yo, down here, pay attention. Okay? And that's how fast I am. When you've done this as long as I have and you do it constantly, there is no trying to get through the mists and the ethers. It's boom,
Yeah,
boom, boom,
yeah.
boom, boom. It's one of the reasons why I tell my clients, especially if it's your first time, do not think you need an hour with me.
Mm.
Half an hour at most. See how fast I go, see if it's useful, then we go on.
Yeah.
I often say I downsell myself, I don't upsell myself. I don't try to get you to spend more money, but less, because I'm very aware the world is expensive these days. And frankly, psychics are luxuries. What's a necessity? Food, shelter, clothing.
Oh, yeah, true. Yeah.
So that I'm probably one of the most realistic and practical psychics that's out there. But that's my stock and trade. And that's why people keep coming back.
Yeah, you're very straight to the point.
Hey, it's New York. So
Yeah. I mean, I like it though. I like sometimes you need people like that that don't beat around the bush, don't you
mhm.
just direct. But I mean, so tarot in general, you can use it as a sort of guide,
Yes,
right?
yes. But remember, just as with astrology, the saying is the stars impel, they don't compel. Tarot can give you
Mm,
ideas.
yeah.
Um, and remember what I said about accuracy. Now, people
Mm-hmm.
often say, well, do you give bad news? And I say, no, I tell you what I see. It is
Yeah.
how you react to it that's going to decide whether it's bad or good. And
Mm.
the example I give is before COVID, I was on the road 45 weekends a year. My nickname was the Travel Channel. And I was reading up in Kitchener, Ontario, and I saw a couple of challenges for a woman.
Mm-hmm.
And she looks at me, she says, "You suck." And she gets up and walks away. Okay, fine. Who's in my chair the next time I'm up in Kitchener but her? First one. She sits down, she says, "Last time I said you sucked." I said, "Yes, I remember. Because you told me that I was probably going to take in a boarder and then I would want to sell my house. And I thought that was all bull. But my daughter got pregnant and moved home. Now I'm going to sell my house to help raise my grandson. And I still don't like you, but I want to know what else you see. Don't shoot the messenger. You know,
Yeah.
it's yours. Um, something called stimulus belief response. Stimulus was this is happening. Your belief is whether it's terrible or you can see some good in it. And how you respond is whether it was scary or not.
Yeah, you choose how you
Always.
react.
Exactly
Yeah,
the point.
you don't have
Exactly the
to
point.
react with pure emotion or be triggered by a certain phrase or whatever somebody told you, um, I always
That
take it
is,
as opportunities to
mhm.
reflect, because if you are instantly charged by something or triggered by something emotionally, that's telling you something. You
Mhm.
have to take a step back, take a breather, whatever, and see why are you feeling this way.
That's called respond, not react.
Mm.
And that's where we get the word responsibility, the ability to
Oh
respond.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
What's the difference? React. I hit you, you hit me. Response. I hit
Mm.
you, you wait. Why are they hitting me? Do I need to hit? Do I need to duck? Do I need to find out what's going on? And you choose how to respond.
I think people react because when you get triggered, you go into like a fight or flight. You're like either you fight or you run away. You get it. I think it's just a natural instinct to fight back or react in that fight or flight mode. You know.
Part of it is the 24/7 idea of the world. Remember, we were talking about when you love what you do, you'll never get
Mm-hmm.
burned out, but yes, you do.
Yeah.
We are all burned out now
Mm.
because, you know, 30, 40 years ago, let's go back then to the 80s when all of this started to snowball. We still were not 24/7. We still had a chance to take breaks.
Mm-hmm.
We still had a chance to think. We had a chance to volunteer after work for things we loved. Now, everybody is expected to work all the time. I know someone who was on their honeymoon cruise. They had just gotten married 2 days before, and their boss called and said, if you want to keep your job, you have to cut it short and fly back. I have a meeting you need to go to tomorrow. No concern for anybody else. It's why entrepreneurs, that's becoming the mecca,
Mm-hmm.
because is it a lot of work? Yes. But you are not putting all that work into somebody else's pocket. The
Mm-hmm.
massive inequality. There was something on MSNBC last night about the one percenters now having $1 million closets with tanning booths. And yet, when you look at what it would cost to get even a 1 bedroom apartment, there is only one state in the United States where minimum wage job could possibly even get that. So
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
is why we are seeing so much change. And a dear friend of mine is a fabulous astrologer. You're going to see a lot of astrologers talking about the idea of Pluto in Aquarius. Now, you don't need to know the
Oh
planets and blah,
no,
blah,
no,
blah.
no. My
But
brother, he's he's an aspiring
astrologer.
astrologist. Yeah, he like didn't go to like any practical school or anything. He's all self-taught. But every
Mhm.
time I talk to him, like he lives his whole life like guided by astrology. Even uh earlier today, I had a brief conversation with him because he sent me a picture of his breakfast. And I said, "Where's the protein at?" And he said, "Well, the energies are in alignment and I'm not supposed to eat meat."
Forgive me, I don't mean to dish your brother, but he's being what I call a cosmic muffin.
Yeah,
Oh my God,
yeah.
Mercury is retrograde again. No. When I
Yeah.
say Pluto is in Aquarius, Pluto
Mhm.
is a planet that I think it takes like 248 years. The last time Pluto was in Aquarius was the American Revolution.
Mm.
And everything astrologically is lining up for massive change. Massive change. Whatever the world looks like right now, it's not going to be like that in 5 years. The next election, I guarantee you, no matter who wins, red or blue, the other side is going to start a revolution because we are now so polarized. Part of it
Yeah.
is corporations are people and they're spending the money. Part of it is nobody trusts the government anymore because of how it's being handled, so much that we little people would get slammed for.
The
Government is
cancel
dealing with.
culture. Yeah,
It's cancel culture.
cancel culture.
We see that one party in Congress, even though they originally agreed to do X, Y, and Z, they're now saying, oh, well, fearless leader says we mustn't, because if the guy in power has any victories, we're bad. So we'll make sure he doesn't win, no matter what that does to the people they're supposed to
Society,
be
yeah.
representing. And look, humanity has gone through this before. And remember the Tower card. In order to rebuild, things need to be knocked down. It'll probably take about 20 years. I do not expect to be alive to see it. But at the same time, I have massive faith in Gen Z that they are not going to let this stand. And whatever we look like on the other side of this 20-year cataclysm,
Civil War,
hiccup, whatever, will be something different, better.
Hopefully better.
It'll be better because I don't think they're going to allow the same kind of massive inequality that's going on now.
Yeah, I always tell people it's like we're called the United States, but we're divided. We should be called the divided states.
And it'll be different from the last Civil War because then you had the demarcation, North and South. For instance, everybody thinks New York is very, very liberal. But I live upstate where everybody in the county votes for Trump, evangelical, they all love guns. Okay. It's, then you have Texas, but then you have Austin.
Yeah, that's where I'm at right now.
Okay.
I'm in Austin.
Austin you just guys.
It's a mix.
It's a mix, but I read that you're going to try a guaranteed basic income. That's brilliant. That's what's needed. So that's yes, $1,000 a month for the very poorest.
Oh, wow.
And go take a look at that because it is making a massive difference in getting people fed, bringing people out of poverty. It's not that they use it, for crud. They use it to take care of themselves and get better. That's brilliant.
I think the big issue is when it deals with economics and politics is the economy and inflation and price of goods and services inflates, but the income doesn't inflate. So
that's right.
Everything starts to cost more, but we still get paid the same. I think if everything was balanced, if everything inflated at the same time,
that's part of the revolution. Yeah. That's part of the revolution. Robert Reich, who is a brilliant economist, he points out things like the corporations are making more and more profit, and yet they say, well, inflation means we have to either shrink our product or you have to pay more. No, it just goes into their pockets.
Yeah.
So,
profitability.
And believe it or not, we have not left the subject of spirituality.
Yeah.
Because spirituality is not all wiki woo and angels. It is, how do you treat your fellow man? How do you see the world going? Where are you putting the cosmic energy? Yes.
Yeah, because I believe in I was reading have you heard of the Bhagavad Gita?
Yes, darling, I have.
I was reading that, and it was talking about the collective unconscious and how there's a unseen energy that can affect people, and we don't realize it could be affecting us unless you become self-aware and you start to gain more self-awareness of who you are and how you show up in the world. And I believe most people are living in that collective unconscious.
They are, when I say they're living like animals, it's not quite, but an animal is that fight or flight. An animal, a squirrel does not sit contemplating an acorn on the other branch and saying, it's a beautiful acorn. I wonder if my neighbor has enough to eat. Maybe I should leave it there. That no, squirrel goes, ooh,
Yeah.
food. Okay. And that's what most of us do.
Mm.
Um, part of the problem with religion is it doesn't give us the one-on-one chance to examine how we feel. Major religions tell us how we should feel.
Mm. Yeah, yeah.
And if you don't believe in the spaghetti monster the way I do, you're wrong. And the way I put it is, look, God owns the grocery store and does not care if you get in through the deli section, the floral, or health and beauty. It's just get in the store. I
Yeah.
admit I am not an atheist because there is so much out there we do not know that if there is one imminence, it does not look like a guy in a beard on a throne, but something that is the central point. Okay, to me,
I
that's
think
what God is.
I think we're on the same path
Wavelength.
when it
Yeah.
comes to spirituality and religion, because I was born and raised Christian, grew up going to church every Sunday until around my teen years. We stopped
Mm-hmm.
going, and I used to call myself an atheist, but deep down I don't really even believe in atheism, because you always believe in something. Even if it's yourself, you believe in something. You can't not believe in anything. I mean, maybe you can not believe in anything, but I believe everyone has a belief in something, even yourself. Um, but I agree. I think there's too much possibilities out there that God to me is just. I think God to me is just energy. It's the energy out there that we intake and feel, and then we choose to make a make a word for it or make a name for it.
Mm-hmm. But does it have a consciousness of its own? Yes, it does.
Hmm.
So,
I think that is the collective consciousness versus the collective unconscious.
well, it's the kind of thing that we can look at and figure out as we go on. We'll never have all the answers. People have to accept we will never have
Mm-hmm.
all of the answers, and that's okay.
Yeah.
You know,
And it's
always remain
okay. Yeah,
curious.
it's okay to be afraid, you know. It's okay to feel uncertain.
Hmm. That's completely normal. The way I explain it is if this was my father's brain, to the day he died, there was a corner of it always open for new information to come into. It's the one where people say, well, this is what I know, and I don't need to know anything else.
Mm,
They fade. It's sad. Sad.
yeah, that's how my mom is actually. And we've just learned, us as like siblings, because I'm the youngest of four,
Hmm.
we've accepted the fact that we can't change people, even though it's uh not the greatest for our relationships, because you
Hmm.
know, somebody you love and care about, you want a deeper connection with them. But it's
And
that,
sometimes
it's
you can't.
exact yeah, it's exactly what you're saying with our mom. She has that closed off uh thought process that doesn't
Mhm.
allow any new thoughts in. It's just, it's that take it or leave it mentality. Like, this is who I am, take it or leave it. If you
That's
don't
right.
want it, so be it.
And all you can do is, bless and release is the phrase that I
Mm,
use. Um, the idea that our souls are way too big to fit in these little bitty bodies. A big chunk of your soul and a big chunk of your mom's is up there. And they're getting
mm.
along fine, probably sharing a bowl of popcorn watching the show. So the fact that there are members of my family to this day who think that I'm a charlatan who steals people's money and they won't tell anybody what I do. They say
Really?
I'm a motivational speaker. I'm never going to change that. They will never
Mm,
love me the way I wish I were loved.
Yeah.
And I've had to accept that, because to try and get them to see me is a waste of
It's taking
time and
away your
space.
energy. Yeah.
And when other people who do understand me and do believe that I am useful, I'd rather spend my time with them.
Yeah, it's about the people who start to take your energy away or people that give you your energy.
Hmm. Hmm.
And you just have to accept it.
But that's why I teach, especially women. I teach
Mm.
them no is a fabulous idea, because we have been trained never to say no. Everybody else comes first. Um, it's the
What
same
about the
thing.
modern, even the modern women, the Gen Zers and
Gen Z, no, y'all are better. See, when I was growing up in the 60s
yeah.
and 70s, the example I use is, there's a plate of cookies. I'm 4 years old. I'm a smart 4-year-old. I know there's more in the big one than the little one. So I reach for the big one, and my mother slaps my hand and says, "No, bad. You're selfish. You're not even going to get a cookie." And she gives it to your little brother, who eats it at you. And then she compounds it with, "Besides, girls who eat cookies get fat. Nobody likes a fat girl. Do you really want a cookie?" And it's this kind
Mm.
of misguided guidance that by the time my generation was 6 or 7, we were taught subliminally, if you want anything, you're wrong, you're bad, you're going to be punished, and you have to watch somebody else get it. So that when I work with women
Mm.
who are retirement age, empty nesters, whatever, and they say, "Well, what do you want?" They panic. They say, "I don't know," because they were
Oh,
told they must never want anything.
yeah.
Gen Zs, millennials, you're learning better.
It's like a program.
Good,
Yeah.
good. It's like, my first book was a self-help book, Clean Out Your Life Closet. And
Mm.
I wrote it as a response to the self-help books I grew up with, because people are still buying them. And I
Yeah.
bought my first self-help book at 13. And I remember the first paragraph starts out, "Judy has a groovy wardrobe." Don't laugh, this is the 60s. "Her hair is fab and her makeup is far out. But nobody likes Judy because Judy's fat." Right there in the book,
What?
hundreds of thousands of young girls were told, "You are worthless unless you're thin."
That was in the
And
actual
that's
book.
what, yes, and that is what a lot of self help books still do today. Do everything I tell you and it all gets better. When I was doing research on what's out there,
Mm.
there's a book that says you have to get up an extra hour and a half early to do yoga every morning and avoid food with
Yeah.
leptin. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
what?
If you are a single mom with 2 kids in school and a job in Milwaukee, you are not going to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So, my book, which dealt with clarity, adaptability, simplicity, and making friends with stress, the way I do it is, here are some stories, some of the dumb things I did. Maybe here's a client story, and here's some suggestions. But at the end of each chapter, there's what I call the adventure pages, where these are questions you can't turn to page 82. You have to look at your own life. For instance, in the
Yeah.
chapter, "When Perfect Destroys Good," where do you beat yourself up most often and why? Reimagine one of those times with the idea that good can triumph over perfect. What does it look like now? How would your life change if you stopped thinking perfection was the only correct response in a project or situation? You see, what this does is, that too is spirituality. It is telling you you are worthy. You
Mm-hmm.
have your own answers. You can't get it wrong.
Yeah.
And that's a book that, once you answer those questions, it now becomes your personal manual. You only take from it what is useful. And there are no other
Mm,
books
yeah.
out there that do that.
Yeah, there's a lot of books. I mean, I've read a lot of self-help books myself.
But
Um,
so you see what I'm telling you. They all say this is the way to do it. And when you read these things, it's, like, gee, is something wrong with me that I can't? It's the difference between a guru and a mentor. I say I will always be a
mm-hmm.
mentor, but I will never be a guru. Why? Mentors push you a little further than you think you can go, kick you out of the nest a little before you think you're ready, and sit in the audience and applaud you when you get an award for being better at what they do than they are. And the example I use is Meryl Streep, clutching her Oscar, thanking her drama professors at Yale. Gurus are, people like Esther Hicks, writes the same thing in the books all the time. And then you go on a cruise to listen to her say the same thing. But she's the only one who channels Abraham. You can't do that. You have to listen to her. No. What I tell people is
Oh yeah.
you can do what I do. We are all wired like the same house plan. It's just a matter of turning your circuit breaker on or off.
Yeah. I believe the same thing, but in a slightly different way. I believe gurus
Tell me.
are either people who've been there and they've done that, and like the grass is always greener type things,
Yeah,
and they don't really care if you succeed or not. And then
that's
mentors
very true.
are the people that are still doing what you're doing and what you want to
Mhm.
be, and are actively doing it, and they also want to see you succeed and help you get there. I think that's
Or
the
their
main
elders,
difference.
they've retired but still want you to do that.
Want to help,
Now,
yeah.
the term guru, the actual Indian guru, I
Mhm.
mean, there are, but they're rare. Like
Mhm.
Paramahansa Yogananda,
Mhm.
he was a guru in that he was selfless. He wanted people to rise up, and it was not about him, it was about what he taught.
Yeah.
That is one of the true who's transcendental souls, if you will. But with a small g, it's the people who know that they've hit the sweet spot with self help or spirituality and they keep
Mhm.
milking it.
Yeah, yeah. I don't want to be a guru.
Nah,
I want to
nah,
be a
it's not worth it.
mentor and inspiration of people.
Hmm.
But I did have a question.
Yeah.
Um, so what's the biggest takeaway, lesson, whatever you've learned after going through everything you've been through in life, including divorce, abuse, poverty,
Cancer, the whole thing.
cancer,
Yep.
illness? What kept you going during all of these times?
Live the examined life. That's, I do something called find your sentence of passion. Your motto is what you say to yourself in the morning. Your sentence of passion is your rallying cry. That comes from how you've lived. My motto is live the examined life. What's that? This thing is happening to me and I don't like it, but I can't stop it. So, first, what can I learn from it? Second, because I'm a teacher, how can I teach with it? And the next thing is next, because too many people don't say next. They just keep their stories. I've met women who say,
Mm,
"Hi, my name's Mary Sue, and I'm a cancer survivor." And they had it 15 years ago and it hasn't touched them since. But that's
mm,
how they identify themselves.
yeah.
Well, I just pull out this article. It's backwards, but this is me in 1973 when I became the 1973 Betty Crocker Homemaker of Tomorrow for New Jersey. That
Oh
ain't me
wow.
now. Um, it's part of my history,
Yeah.
but I have moved on.
Mhm.
When we move on, we grow. We learn from what happened and we grow. It's like rings on a tree.
Mhm.
My sentence of passion, which comes from all the self learning I've done, is cross the bridge from fear to fearlessness and fly. When I can take somebody from point A to point B when they thought they couldn't make it, tap them on their shoulder and say, "Here are my wings. Here are yours. You don't need a flight plan. Get. I'm living my bliss." And I've done it through every job I've ever had, not just what I do now. Because that's when I go skidding into heaven on bald tires and fumes in the tank, and God hands me a cup of coffee and says, "So tell me." I want to go, "I did this. Isn't it cool?" When you have your sentence of passion, you can find it at age 78. And if for the last 3 years of your life you're living that sentence of passion, you've added that layer. You feel complete. There is nothing worse than being on your deathbed. And it's what happened to my father. And he was my best friend. I
Yeah.
loved him. But, he was miserable. I said, but Dad, look at all the patients you healed. He was a wonderful doctor. People talk about him now, and he's been dead for 20
Mm-hmm.
some years. But he said to me, honey, I've never been happy. So my life has been a
Wow.
waste. He died at 80.
What?
I don't want to do that, which is why I have fought all my life to do what is right for me, to find something to do for the world that I can look in the mirror and say, it's been a good day. Because as I work with clients, it's always funny. If I'm wrestling with something in my own life and
Mm.
I'm doing a psychic fair, I'll have 4 or 5 clients come to me with kind of the same problem. And while I'm reading for them, I can hear my own guides upstairs going, dummy, you listening?
Mm-hmm.
My circumstances aren't exactly like theirs. But when I can get out of my own head and talk to them about what they can do about it, stuff will leak in and give me new perspective. That's why I
Yeah.
love reading for clients. There's always something new for me as well.
Yeah, because in the act of doing it, you're reflecting on yourself
Hmm.
and you're learning more from learning about them.
Exactly. Remember what I said about when you keep doing the same thing, you don't grow. When you change
Mm-hmm.
things up, you do. That's an example because someone will come to me with a life situation that I would never live. I have no kids.
Mm.
She has 3, and that's where the problem is. But there is a core energy
Yeah.
that's the same that I'm wrestling with. And when I read the cards and tell her what I'm channeling for her people, I will retain some of that knowledge for myself.
How do you how do you get people to, well, not really get people, what would you tell somebody who's just like stuck in their ways, that's hard to change, that they're still holding on to their past self, they're still that person?
There's only so much I can do. This
Mm-hmm.
this floats into the question, how often should I see my psychic? And I say there
Yeah.
is no hard and fast. If I read
Mm-hmm.
for you and you come back to me a month later and say, look, that reading was great and I did everything that we talked about. Now here's how everything is shifted. Can we take another look? Absolutely. But if you
Mm-hmm.
come to me once a year, the Syracuse Psychic Fair, and it's always the same stuff, and I know I'm giving you the same answers, after 3 years, I will be like a good bartender and cut you off. You're wasting my time and your money.
Mm.
There are some people that they can't change, and that's their karma. Live and be well. Maybe somebody else, another reader, will be able to pull out the king stick and the Jenga goes psh, like this. Maybe I'm just not it.
I think it's because some people, they get that like spark and feel like they're changing just by hearing it, just by hearing something. They feel like, oh, this is just what I needed, but I don't really need to change anything. But thank you, because I just needed to hear this. Like, it's like a
Sometimes.
motivational thing. Like, you listen to motivation, you listen to Tony Robbins, David Goggins, and it motivates you for temporarily, but you have to find it within yourself to keep going.
Yep, that's a case of salute the hat, not the hat rack. Let me explain what I mean by that. Um, Sometimes we find a philosophy or an idea that really, really works well for us. There is, and I'm not going to name names, there is one, if you will, philosophy methodology that I have known since the early 80s that I still use. But the people who taught it, it's a cult of personality. So I warn people, salute the hat, not the hat rack, meaning
Mm-hmm.
the idea is good, but whoever is wearing it at the moment, they're just human. So I
Mm.
understand that completely. Um, an idea may work, and that may be what this person needs for change, but I'm the wrong person to tell them. You may be the right person. And we may even use the same words, but there is
Oh
just something
yeah.
about the energy exchange that clicks better with you than me. So they'll change having heard it from you and not from me. Who knows? But
Oh,
that's
that's
why you cannot
exactly,
take
yeah.
things personally. You
Oh
can't.
yeah, especially in today's age of social media.
Mhm.
That's
There's a
why,
six, I want to give you a
yeah.
6 word magic formula that I got from my dear friend Wendy Peeney, who is the artist for ElfQuest. Praise and blame all the same. Somebody can
Mm.
tell you that you're so wonderful, you walk on water and just get your ankles wet. And then, like the person in Kitchener, they can say you suck.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't let either one of them affect you. Joni Mitchell, Don Juan's reckless daughter, she's got a couple of lines. Puffed up and strutting when I think I win, down and shaken when I think I lose. Do not let somebody else's opinion of you change how you feel or see yourself at any given time. That's why, lovely to hear the praise. Thank you for sharing if you think I suck. But I know who I am. I know the work I'm doing. And I keep that
Yeah.
as my balance point.
That reminds me of a old like proverb story that I've heard before. Um, but you've probably heard it before. It's about like
Maybe. What is it?
it's about an old farmer and a war going on, and he keeps. I'm gonna like butcher this, but
That's okay.
uh, he keeps um he's like, oh, I you have to go to war, but then he's like, oh no, I don't want to go to war, but then he ends up breaking his leg or something, falling off of a horse, and
Mm-hmm.
then he's like, oh, I can't go to war anymore. And every time he's told something by his, I think it was his father,
Mm-hmm.
his father is like, good thing, bad thing, it's all the same. And
Mm-hmm.
he keeps telling him this, like, good thing, bad thing, it's all the same. Every time, like, oh, you're about to go to war, that's bad. Like, and he would say, well, good thing, bad thing, it's all the same. Same thing when he broke his leg and he was happy about it. He was like,
Mm-hmm.
well, good thing, bad thing, it's all the same. And I butchered
That's
the story,
response
but it's
versus
something
react.
like
No,
that.
but it's response versus react. When you
Yeah.
respond, you can see both sides of the situation. Let's take my cancer.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, it took me from a Dolly Parton figure to a fat fire plug with permanent side effects. But what's the lesson? The lesson was I am worth more than what I look like. And it made me a much more compassionate person. It helps me with my clients. Been there, done that. I understand what you're feeling. And looking more normal, so I could fade into a crowd. After years of getting catcalls and wolf whistles and being told I am worth nothing but what I look like, it was a wonderful. Would I do I wish I could have done that without cancer? Yes, but there were still gifts even in there. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so that's the good thing, bad thing that you're talking about. I totally get it.
Yeah, I think that's the problem with the modern take, well, the traditional and modern take on um, females. And like you were saying, the cat calls, and when you're
Mhm,
younger, women
mhm.
are look. I mean, like they're looked at as objects, honestly. Uh,
That's
and that's
why
like all your value is in your beauty.
exactly. It's why the millennials, Gen Zs, gender fluid, gender neutral. I can look like what I want. I'm a he or a she or a they. That is the kind of thing that directly counteracts what we were forced to be through. Okay. That's why
Mm-hmm.
the older generations, the boomers, the conservatives are terrified of that because they the fluidity is taking something that they can use to bludgeon women with and take it away. It's the whole thing with um, the reproductive freedom for women
Mm-hmm.
is you think you're free. We're going to remind you that this is a patriarchal society and we can do to you what we want. And we'll do it by law if we have to.
Mm-hmm.
This is all the kind of thing that millennials and Gen Zs are going to tear away, for which I am profoundly grateful. And maybe my next incarnation, I'll come back and do it with you.
Or your energy will disperse into another
Or I'll be up
world.
there in my spirit guide office and I'll work that way.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I could go deeper in it, but I don't want to. Uh,
It's okay. I'm not going to take offense, whatever you say.
well, I just feel like I'm just gonna say it anyways. I feel like it is a good thing to a certain extent. I think it should be just like how religion is. Like you shouldn't push it on people. At least when it comes to
That's
like
right.
the gender pronoun thing. It's like don't tell me what to call you. Like I'm gonna call you. Like everybody has that freedom to call somebody what they want, and whether it's respectful or not. And
Now,
I think
that's where we
it
do
is a good
disagree.
thing to a certain extent, like you said. Like it's giving more freedom and it's bringing important topics into light. But the
And
specifically
I'm going
the
to, then what
yeah.
harm if I would choose they, them? What
Mhm.
harm does it do to you to be kind
Mhm.
and use the pronouns I want to use?
Yeah.
It's the way back when women were starting to keep their last name. So
Mm.
let's say that Betsy McAllister got married to John Smith
Mhm.
and she wanted to keep Betsy McAllister. They wouldn't
Mhm.
call her Ms. McAllister. You're Mrs. Smith, but
Mm.
no, your name is Mrs. Smith because I want to
Mhm.
call you Mrs. Smith. There is no respect for the identity that
Mhm.
I have. You're forcing your identity on me. So you see,
Yeah.
when you think of it as they're forcing their they them on me, that's
Yeah.
not fair. They're not forcing, they are asking.
Mm.
Please acknowledge who I see myself as. That's
Mhm.
all. So, what I would do is I would challenge you to see it as a request for kindness instead of forcing something on you.
Yeah. That's that's a good
That, my dear, is why I'm a reverend. I can see that side.
no, that's a good shift, I guess.
Mhm. So, they're not telling you that you have to be they, them.
Mm.
It's like religion. Okay. Um, I of all the Christian religions, I tend to like Episcopalian. All the bells and smells, no pope, and you're allowed to think. An
Mhm.
Episcopalian may feel deeply and strongly about the Trinity, the Holy Spirit, all of that, and they are happy within that.
Mm.
But unlike evangelical proselytizers, they don't tell you, and you're damned and disgusting because you don't believe exactly as I do. They are saying to you, this is who I am. Please respect it. And if you want to come in, sure, I'll talk to you about it. There's the difference.
No, I like that viewpoint on it. I think it just gets too extreme, like every time we get into politics, it's like there's always extremes. There's no middle ground or gray areas where we can have
Everything,
discussions, right?
everything. Vegans will hit on vegetarians who hit on those of us that eat dead things.
Meats, yeah.
Look, I was vegetarian for years because I thought that was spiritual.
Mhm.
And all of my blood numbers went to hell and I gained 40 pounds. Me, I need to eat dead thing. But I choose to get it from people who raise it humanely. It's pastured, as they say, their lives are really good until the one day it goes really bad. I thank the animal.
Mm.
It's like my friend says, bless it good. I don't overindulge. But, this is what 69 and 20 years after cancer looks like because I acknowledge what works for me. I don't tell you that you're wrong to be a vegetarian,
Yeah.
but I know if I need to eat salmon and I need to eat chicken, I'm going to do it. It's the every single thing in
Yeah.
the world goes wrong when we believe that what we do is
You
right
need to
and this other
think
person is
this
wrong,
way.
and we
Yeah.
have to beat them into submission.
Instead of just accepting people's
Right,
yeah.
right. If it doesn't hurt you that I'm eating a piece of fish, don't take the fish away from me and say, you're wrong, you're bad, you're damned. If you decide
Mm,
that tofu is everything you want, I'm not going to shove a piece of fish in your face and say, you're going to die if you don't eat protein out of an
yeah.
animal.
That's a whole another rabbit hole.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. See, spirituality is not just metaphysics, it's not just magic. It is, how are we as spiritual beings
Mm.
in a human form, interacting with each other, interacting with ourselves, interacting with the world?
Yeah, you've heard of that quote. We're we're all just spiritual beings living a human experience.
That's exactly right. That's Wayne Dyer. Yep.
Oh, Wayne Dyer said that.
Yes. See, I love Wayne Dyer. When people ask me what I want to
Yeah,
be when I grow up, I
Wayne
tell
Dyer.
them that I want to be a cross between Wayne Dyer and Swami Beyondananda, who is Steve Behrman. That's his um,
I
WikiWoo
think I heard
alter
of
ego,
him.
but he's funny. Oh, he is
Is
hilarious.
he the one on YouTube?
Um, yes, yes. And his website is wakeuplaughing.com. So my idea is
I
I
think
want
I
to be a
heard of him.
cross between Wayne Dyer and Swami Beyondananda. Funny as hell, but normal enough you could borrow my lawnmower. And I think that's what I've actually molded myself into at this
Manifested.
point in my career. Yes.
No, I could see that. You can tell you have very you're very assertive. You're very down to earth. You're very direct to the point, but you're
Mhm.
not too serious. You know?
When I can get a client to laugh, their shields drop and the information gets in faster. And
Yeah.
part of the problem is people go to psychics who think their aura don't stink. I have to be right. You must believe what I say. No,
Mm,
no. If what I say is useful, great, use it. If not, have a nice life. No big deal.
yeah. You can't force people to tell you what they're
Yeah. And
for.
when you don't take yourself all that seriously,
Mm,
that's when the praise and blame all the same really works. Because you realize we are all fallible. We all have opinions. In
mm,
150 years, I won't matter. You won't matter. Um,
yeah.
it's not worth the angst.
Yeah. You gotta live. I don't. It's cliche, but you have to
Do
live
the
in the
best you
present.
can. Right. Do the
Yeah.
best you can for yourself now
No,
with what
yeah.
you've got.
But you have to be healed as well. I feel like it's people get caught up with anxiety or they get caught up in the past because they've never fully healed. And I think that's what is really taking away. People are too caught up either in the past or in the future, and that's taken away
Yes.
from finding that self awareness to be present.
But it is not our business to tell them that's wrong. Maybe that's what
Mm,
they need to do to learn in this life.
mm,
Would we wish less pain for them? Would we wish calm? Of course. But we have to accept that sometimes they can't do it. Um, that's the example of the clients that I keep telling the same thing to every year when they come back to me. Eventually, you have to accept they're not going to listen.
mm.
And maybe that's where they need to be. Live and be well, but I'm moving on over here.
Yeah, you bring a water to the horse, or bring a water to the horse.
Right? You can bring the horse to water, but you can't make him drink. That's right. The old saying.
Yeah, but no, I appreciate. I feel like we could keep going, but I'm gonna be respectful of our times. And
Thank you.
I told you, I could make this 2 hours, but I'm not going to.
We've covered so much, and I can understand 2 hours if people pause and they think, no. I have done over 400 podcasts in the past 10 years, and I know myself really well. And so, you hit the button and say, I want to know about this, and immediately out it comes. And I will say that this was a lot of fun because you didn't stick to a script. We went all over the place. So a lot more information came out faster with more excitement and more spark for your listeners. That's a very good thing.
No, I mean that's how I want it to be. I just have that one question in the beginning, that you took 2 minutes to answer. And then and then I have my final questions, which I'm
Go ahead.
curious to know your responses to.
Go ahead.
First question, what's your biggest regret in life?
That I didn't learn this earlier. Would have been a lot more fun if I had.
Yeah. Next question, who or what made the biggest impact in your life that makes you who you are?
There are three choices. My father, who always believed in me and taught me that words are magic. He was a writer, and so am I. Wendy Peeney, who is my spiritual mentor and I've known for 40 years. And we have been through the roller coaster of experience together, and we are now very close friends. And Barry Neil Kaufman, who was the founder of the Option Institute with his wife Samaria, and taught me about the option dialogue process, which is the three most important questions in the world. What am I X about? X is your emotion. Why am I X about that? And the question we never ask ourselves, what do I think would happen if I stopped being X about that? Change your beliefs, change your life.
It's that's an emotionally charged question, huh? To ask
What?
yourself, to reflect on that, on those three questions. Those are emotionally charged questions.
They are, but they are compassionate, loving questions to yourself. You're not saying, so change. You're saying, what do you think would happen if? There's no judgment, just the question.
I think a lot of people are afraid of judgment.
Yeah, even self-judgment. But changing your mind about something isn't a judgment. Today I want chocolate ice cream. Yesterday I wanted vanilla. Am I wrong because I wanted vanilla yesterday? No. Change my mind. That's all.
Yeah, I feel like I'm not that big on judgment. I mean, I feel it sometimes, like especially doing this and podcasting, it's public and it's inevitable. You're inevitably gonna be judged or criticized, whether good or bad.
That's
And
why praise and blame all the same. You just accept it and like have a nice life. It's
we
okay.
keep going back to that.
Yep. It's huge.
That's that's gonna be my sentence of what'd you call it? Your sentence
Sentence of passion, praise and
of
blame all the
passion.
same.
Yeah. No, 'cause it's especially prominent in this type of work. Anything that's public. That's why I have like sympathy for influencers and other big podcasters that have went viral, and you have to learn how to deal with that.
Yes.
And really
Yes, you do.
not take it personally.
Exactly right.
And I believe that's what separates the people that like can keep going and doing it versus the people that say I
Flame
can't do
out.
this anymore. Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Because they start to take those critics to heart. It really digs deep. But you can't
Yep.
let it.
You can't.
But next question, what
Yes.
is the biggest lesson you learned the hard way?
That I'm worth more than my looks. 3 times doing the cancer dance, upstairs kept hitting me upside the head with a sledgehammer until they said, all right, we're going to use the big one to teach you.
Did you have to how drastic was your looks? Like, did you have to get chemo and shave your head?
No, but it was drastic in that when I say I was built like Dolly Parton, I mean it. 44 triple D, tiny waist and hips. And when they did a double mastectomy, that was gone. That was gone. And because it was what they call an estrogen positive, they had to strip me of every hormone I had, which took me from the Dolly Parton figure literally to like a short, fat fire plug. And the side effects from what they did have not gone away in 20 years. I'm one of the unlucky 10% where all the bad side effects are permanent.
Really?
But I'm still here and I'm clear. And this is what 69 looks like. I'm 10 years older than my mother, who didn't make it to 69 because she drank and she smoked and she did drugs. So this is me. I have nobody to measure it up against. They tell me I look younger than my age. Cool. I remember what I looked like at 30, though. I miss her. But the most important thing is people respond to me now because of who I am, not what I look like. And if it took, as I say when I lecture, well, maybe next time I get to keep the rack, but if that's what I needed for this time, okay. On the other side of it, it's good.
What do you tell the people that are still stuck? Like, I have to look good all the time.
I don't tell them anything. I smile and I let them think what they think. I'm not here to change their minds unless they come to me and say, I want to change.
And what would you tell that person that wants to change?
Where do you want to start? That's what I would tell them. Do you want to change how you feel about how you look? Do you want to change how people respond to how you look? Do you want to change how you look? You meet someone where they are.
I think that narrative was drawn out by both sides, though. You know, I think men are visual creatures.
So are women.
I feel like men are more visual than women are.
It's how they're taught.
Yeah.
It's how they are taught.
I think it's our nature, though. I think it's like in men's human nature and biology. When we
I
see
don't know.
big hips and double
But no,
D's.
but it's also socialization. Because in Polynesia, what we would call morbidly obese, they find gorgeous. In the 1960s, men thought Twiggy looked great, and she was anorexic. In the 1890s, it was the Dolly Parton figure kind of thing. So it's not that men are, biologically cute necessarily. They are told from small personhood, they're entitled to judge and choose that way. Whereas, women are told, well, if he punches you, it's just because he likes you. And so, no, socialization changes a lot. In a matriarchal society, things are different.
Aren't there matriarch like Amazonians or something? There's some out there.
There are matriarchal societies, some First Nations, Indigenous, and it's different, but I don't know enough about them to comment.
I think it's a culmination of everything. Like I don't think we can point it at one thing. It's like a combination of societal's views and expectations and pressures and judgments
and species
our biological.
And it's not always that way. I mean, with a praying mantis, the female chooses the guy, mates, and bites his head off. Yeah. So
I think black widows are the same.
Are they?
The spiders, yeah, they that's why they're called black widows, because they're
Got it.
yeah, because they like mate with the male
and kill
mate and kill, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is odd. It's like we just like they're just used as objects. It's like I'm
And
using
look
you.
at, that's right. And look in, people in Congress are saying that women are just containers for babies.
Yeah, that's
So they're no better than black widows.
yeah. You have to draw the line.
You do.
You have
You
to,
do.
honestly. But next question, I'm curious to hear your answer. Um, More often than not, people have the same answer, which I might change this question because of that. But what would you want to experience in life if you had infinite time and infinite money?
How could I help the world? If I won the lottery, which is sort of a different thing, um, I would not feel guilty, but I would help those things that I think are most important. I do cat rescue. I do. They're small animals. They can't control their lives. I would do a lot of food banks. I would do libraries. That's how I would try and make the world better. I wouldn't, world peace. Well, that's nice, but you got to start, like Teddy Roosevelt said, do what you can with what you have where you are.
Hmm. That's a good answer. And it's funny you brought up cat rescue because for some odd reason, my YouTube algorithm keeps sending me cat rescue posts, which I just like, I can't. It's something, it touches my heart, um,
Hmm.
heart buttons when I see these.
Yep.
It's because it's legit like videos of in like India or like the Middle
Oh, I
East
know.
or
I get them too.
you get
I get them
them
too.
too.
Of course I do. When you do help cat rescues, and I do, the
Yeah.
algorithm says, "Oh, we got her."
Yeah. They got me too. But it's nice to see because it's like you see literally it's all before your eyes. Like there's a cat, a mommy cat, and she brings her dying like limp
and
kitten,
and somebody gets
helps
it
them
and to the vet, and
revitalize.
then it's
Yeah.
another. Yeah, well, we do have a rescue cat. I've got two Maine Coons who are purebreds, big guys.
Oh wow.
But Harley Q Pouncy Bounce is a little ginger ninja, and we rescued him. He was in the Bronx. His owners were on crack. They only fed him every few
Oh
days after they
wow.
got their drug money. They'd throw him against the wall. They'd lock him in closets. And one day they
Wow.
literally football kicked him out of the apartment. And the cat rescue I worked with at the time scooped him up, and
He was
we
probably
had
on edge when you got him.
he would, for 8 months old, he still loved humans, but
Wow,
he to
really?
this day is very food oriented. If somebody else has food, he has to because they were starving him. But he
Hmm.
now has the life of his dreams. He is loved. He has two big brothers that he can beat up on. There
That's
is always
crazy.
food around.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I saved one little life. That's good.
And it's crazy you
That's a
got a
start.
Maine Coon as a rescue because those things are
No, I didn't get a
expensive.
Maine Coon as a rescue. He's just a normal little ginger tabby. My
Oh,
Maine
okay.
Coons
You
are,
got.
actually, my big one was a present from a friend of mine who breeds them in England.
Oh,
And
wow.
so we refer to him as the Britain kitten that became a Mew Yorker. He's
New
21
Yorker.
pounds. Yep. MEW Mew.
Yeah, I have a cat. I don't know if you see him. Can you see?
Hiya, Schnutz. Yep.
He's a British short hair,
Yeah, they're
but
they're lovely. Big plushy boys.
yeah, but no, yeah. Back to what we were saying. I like your answer because that's different. You know, most people just think um, of their self when they hear this, and they think, "Oh, I'm just gonna travel the world and have fun." That's what most people say. So
Mm-mm-mm.
I was curious, and I like how you said you'd use it to try to make the world better. It's very
Absolutely.
selfless and compassionate of you.
It's who I
Yeah.
am. It's who I am.
And final question is there any last personal insights of your journey of discovering you that you think would resonate?
Please understand, guys, if you're listening, you can't get it wrong. You can't get it wrong. When you cross over, God is not going to say, you're stupid, you're really screwed up. No, all of it is lessons. And if you can get out of here having taught something good to one person, finding one person to love, making a little difference in the world, you've done all right. You can't get it wrong.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Is there anywhere you want people to go visit you?
No, they can't avoid me. My website is corbymidlide.com. It's got dozens and dozens of articles. It has my own little podcast called The Psychic Eldritch Road. It's about 15 minutes, no more than that. So it's a quick listen. There are 24 different kinds of readings and consultations you can do with me, from short 5-minute burning questions all the way up to my jewel in the crown, which are my soul plan readings and take me 12 hours to do. You can find me on YouTube. You can find me on Instagram. And if you want to work with me specifically, you can find me over at Patreon.
So go check her out if you guys are listening. And as always, stay curious and keep going.